Microphones are going to work.
Good.
Excellent. All right, let's try that again. Are we on LinkedIn and Facebook? Okay. Are we on YouTube? Yes. Okay. Looks like it's happening. Excellent. All right. Oh, and Grace is going to come hang out with me today, too.
Oh, good.
Good morning, Grace.
Good
Awesome.
morning.
Well, hi, Leslie. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm a little bit kerfuffled and late, but that's okay. I don't know why my microphone just wasn't working this morning. That's
You
okay.
know, we had this same problem last time, didn't we?
It cut out.
Yeah.
I think, my machine's running hot lately is kind of what it is. And I think
Hmm.
I also had noise reduction on, and so I'm wondering if because my fan was running, it was muting my sound.
Yeah, could be.
I think that might. Anyway, we're talking about career transitions today.
Yeah, any transition will
Transitioning your career.
throw your productivity down. And I'd say the transition to using a new technology creates its own sorts of stress. So, but
Oh, that's true.
career transitions are important.
Yeah, so it's not just that either. You can have career transitions if you're completely changing industries, if you're shifting industries. Um, that can sometimes be a challenge. And then what if you get laid off? And it's not your own accord that you have a career transition, right?
Yep.
Or if you get a promotion into a new role, that's another career transition that sometimes will cause stress, or you might need to gain some emotional resilience skills because your expectations are different. You
Yeah.
have new technology. You have a team of people that maybe you never managed before, but you're a really good developer, but now suddenly you're a people manager.
Right. And maybe those people don't have a lot of confidence in you as a leader. So that's
Mm.
another issue. You have to gain their gain their trust, gain their confidence.
That's true. And we talked about trust last time. In the context of career transitions, when you come into, now I've done this before because I'm the consultant. So as the consultant, I'm the outsider who comes in, right, to help the
Yeah.
marketing team with a certain campaign launch or an event launch or something. And so when you're in a new team like that, what are some suggestions that you've helped people with when they're jumping into a new team? It's a big career transition for them, and they need to build up more rapport and trust with that team, either of their skills or maybe just their social skills, their technical skills, or maybe even just getting along, their character traits.
Well, when you want people to trust you, they have to trust that you're capable of what you want done, capable of
Mm,
doing what needs to be done. And and they have to trust that you will do it, that you can, and that. So there's two
right.
aspects to that. But um, I want to talk about how when there's transitions that are un not led by you. So
Mm,
you can have a transition where you decide, I'm going to go do this, and it's all your decision. Or you can have a transition where you're laid off and you have to go find a new job, and it's not your decision, it's forced on you. When it's your decision, there's a lot of empowerment and excitement about it, and you don't go
mm,
through these stages of transition, change, grief, whatever you want to call it, where your productivity drops down and then you wallow in the
right.
abyss, and then you come
Yeah.
up when things start to work for you again. But uh, I'd say that when you when you have a transition imposed on you and your emotions take a dive, that's where what you talk about, the emotional resilience, really is important. And what I also mentor many people, especially about career transitions. And when that's happened to them, I encourage them to write down 3 things they're proud of. Three
Mm,
things they're proud of having done, 3 things they're proud of, period. So you might be, a person might be really proud of having led a team to deliver an innovative product. They might be
mhm,
really proud that their product received high reviews. Some people
mhm,
might be really proud that their podcast has so many subscribers. Some people
uh-huh,
might be really proud that they've been able to successfully go to college and raise a family and do all sorts of things that no one had done before them in their family. There's a lot of different ways to find something that you can be proud of, but just the act of revisiting the things in
mm,
your life that you've done and
mhm,
then noticing some that you can really be proud of helps so
yeah,
much with confidence, because when you're looking at interviewing for new jobs, as you have said, you have to be confident. And getting that confidence might come from recognition that you've done a lot of great things
right.
and you've done stuff that you should be proud of and that you know how to do and you know you can do them. So,
I'm so bad at that. I'm horrible at that. Taking stock of what I've done. Like I used to do that. I write that in my talk, in fact, about how, when I had my own agency, our team would wrap something up. We'd been working on a website for a couple months or something, and we'd wrap up a project, and everybody'd be like, yeah, we got it, we launched. And I'd be like, okay, so anyway, the next thing we got to move on to the next thing. What's next, right? And I used to be horrible about that. So I'm glad you said that. I'm much better now at taking stock of and celebrating what I've
yeah.
accomplished in the quarter, in the month, and what you're saying is in your career as
And
well.
your life.
Yeah,
It can be anything,
yeah, yeah.
and you don't think about that all the time. Like you
That's
say,
right.
you're horrible at it. But
Yeah,
if I'm your mentor and I say to you, I need you to write down 6 things that you've accomplished
yeah,
and pick 3 that you're proud of. Well, then
right.
you do that and you really begin to feel bigger and
Yeah,
stronger.
because it's true. It's
Yeah,
true. You're giving receipts to an insecure ego, right? You're
yeah,
like, here's proof.
right.
I like, you talk about mentorship as well. We both mentor and have for a long time. Something about mentors is I'll encourage people to have a couple different mentors, right? I will encourage people to have a career mentor, somebody who can help you navigate office politics and maybe, the emotional stuff and what to say, right? And then also a technical mentor, somebody who can help you if you get stuck in your code, somebody who can help you if, things get a little bit deep in over your head at work and you don't feel like you have anybody to ask there. So I
Mhm.
encourage people to get a career mentor for those human skills, and then also a technical mentor for the technical part of your job that, maybe you might need some help, or, I had somebody who was in a hostile work environment and they still cared about their job and wanted to get their job done. And they needed other people to kind of help them because they didn't have the guidance they needed out at work. They didn't have a lot of support. So they got an external mentor, and that
Mhm.
was helpful. The other thing is that we touched on a little bit is that transitions, they affect our mental health, right?
Mhm.
So the thing about transitions, what we know, I sit on the board of directors for a mental health nonprofit and also for a behavioral health nonprofit. I'm certified in mental health first aid, and a lot of what they teach us is that during transitions, that's when a lot of mental health issues come up
Mhm.
for people. And so mental health issues such as, the stress, the anxiety, things that maybe haven't even come up before might come up for you,
Mhm.
um, in your insecurities, or just, depression, like you said. So
Mhm.
it's important to seek out a counselor or a
Yeah.
therapist, or maybe you need medication, a psychiatrist, and some kind of professional help that can help you navigate that, because they can teach you the skills about why you're responding the way you're responding, why you're getting so depressed, and then ways to get up out of that. So professional help is important as well. Culturally competent professional help. That's another key, right? I have sat with mentees before. I had somebody, in fact, who I mentor first generation Asian Pacific Islander students in honor of my late husband. I mentor them for free and I donate my time. A lot of times when they're seeking out therapy or counseling, I encourage them to ask for somebody who understands their heritage and their background and their culture and
Mhm.
where they came from, because these are students who are first generation. They may have parents, grandparents that they're taking care of, and they have backgrounds such that their grandparents, their aunts, their uncles, they escaped famine, they escaped war. They are the first students to get a higher education, and
Mhm.
so a lot of that is very, very intense sometimes. The pressure
Yeah.
can be very intense to perform.
Yeah.
And if you have a therapist who doesn't really understand that background, doesn't understand your family dynamic, doesn't understand that you're expected to take care of your grandparents and your parents, and speak and translate for everybody in English. If you have a therapist who doesn't really understand that and your culture, it's not going to be very helpful. It's not going to be very effective.
Yeah. So it does
Yeah.
help to have someone who understands you. And
Yeah, yeah, and they don't even have to, be an expert in Cambodian history, but certainly they have to be sensitive to the culture and the background of somebody who might be coming from that space, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I like that you also talked about confidence. We talked about how confidence is so important during transitions. I wanted to add also that when you make a list of your accomplishments, you can also make a list of your core values. You
Mhm.
know, those accomplishments, the things that you're proud of, are going to demonstrate what's important to you, right? Like you talked about, we talked about family. If you're proud of being the first person to go to college and get a higher degree and get an engineering job, that's something. If you are the first person to get married and have kids, whatever that is, it really shows what your values are. Hard work or family, or showing support for your family, those kinds of things show your core values. And when you understand that, when you understand your core values, what you're all about, when you understand what you've accomplished, that really helps you dig in and sink into your sense of self, and build up your confidence.
Yeah.
And when you also have those core values, it helps you make decisions too. It's like your litmus test against, things that come in. Is this for me? No, this isn't a good values match. Is this role for me? Well, that company doesn't really align with my core values. And you can have a stronger sense of yourself. Now, sometimes we might have to compromise our core values for a
Mhm.
job if we're working, because the ultimate goal is just the job, right?
Mhm.
Maybe our basic needs aren't met and we just need to get the job. Still, having a list of your core values is still important, because again, you can go, all right, look, I'm at this job, I know what this role is about, it's not exactly in alignment with me, but it's a stepping stone to something better, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that has to happen. And so when you have your core values, it helps you kind of point your compass toward true north, even
Yeah.
if you can't live your core values at that job, at that role.
One time, this is just a illustration of core values and not
Mm,
finding them at the
mm,
place that I was interviewing. I was interviewing at a company, and I had flown to their city, and they had arranged a full day of interviews and then some other things for me. And part of my interview was to meet with the CEO. And while I was meeting with the CEO, the staff was playing a trick on the CEO, and someone ahead of him, had warned me that the staff was going to play a trick on him. But the
Okay.
trick was something really stupid. It was that they had changed out the music that would go on when people would call on the phone to some hard rock instead of some soothing phone answering music.
Okay.
Customers were calling to complain about it, and this was an emergency, and he had to come deal with it. Well, that
Uh-huh.
was right in the middle of my interview. And it
Huh.
was so weird. And of course, the interview was very disrupted, and the timing
Right.
was all off. And of course, it didn't go well because,
Huh.
I mean, I can't get his attention while his staff is playing tricks on him. And so
Right.
that interview told me that the people there didn't respect others. They didn't respect their time and they didn't respect them. And so,
Right.
I said, well, this obviously is not a place I want to be. So, if
Yeah,
you're
that's
going to be doing
strange.
stuff like that,
Yeah, they
at
were
least,
so excited. And then they interrupted the interview with a new person. It wasn't even
no,
like you were in the culture or you were in
no,
on the joke.
nope, no.
You were outside of the joke.
Right. And I knew that this was a very freewheeling culture, that they had a lot of skateboards in the office so people could skateboard
Oh,
from one place to another, that they like to have fun. And I'm all about fun. I don't think I can
yeah.
skateboard very well. But the lack of respect really
Mm,
told me, I don't think I want to work here. So,
yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Not the place for you. It wasn't a good values alignment for
not
sure.
a good values alignment. So I just wrote
Mm.
that one off. No good. Nope.
Well, good for you though for knowing your boundaries and that it wasn't a good values met. Like some
Yeah.
people would try to force it or, put themselves into that position where they're not going to succeed or, you're just going to be miserable the entire time and feel disrespected.
Yeah.
Sometimes people make that decision if they aren't clear on their core values,
Yeah.
if they're not feeling very confident about themselves, right?
And
And
I think,
so when
yeah,
you
some
know,
people aren't confident about themselves. And after an interview that went goofy like that, they
yeah,
might say, well, that interview went terribly. What's wrong with me? But I
yeah,
say, that interview
right.
went terrible. What is wrong with those people? And I don't want to
Yeah.
work with them.
Right. And so you understood that. You understood your core values, you communicated your boundaries. We've talked about boundaries before and the importance of knowing where to draw the line, right? And
Hmm.
then also managing your mindset. You didn't take it in. You
I
didn't
did
take
not.
it in on your own, right? Because it was
Yeah.
their dysfunction and you didn't
Yeah.
take it in. So that those are really good tips. Yeah,
I
yeah.
chalked it up to another chapter in the book I'm not writing called Weird Interviews that I have participated in on both sides of the desk.
That's funny. That's funny. Another thing about transitions and um, if you are thinking about you're going to decide to leave a company, that can be hard, right? Like when do you make the shift intentionally? When do you choose to leave a company? Because, if the core values aren't good, if it's dysfunctional, if you're having a hard time establishing boundaries, or maybe you've done the work, maybe you've gotten a mentor, maybe you have a therapist, maybe you've been practicing confidence, your core values, and you think, this still isn't working, maybe it's time for me to initiate the transition. How do you decide if you should stay or you should leave? Should I stay or should I
Yeah,
go?
should I stay or should I go? Um, I have left companies because I could see that they
Yeah.
were headed towards failure.
Mm.
often there were companies with a culture that I really loved and people that I really loved, but I could see that they were headed towards failure for one reason or another. The market, and they were in the wrong market, or
Mm.
uh, just that they didn't know what they were doing. That is a different
Timing.
situation. They don't
They
know what
couldn't
they're
get a
doing.
product
They're,
launched.
yeah. uh, anyway, I've chosen to do that several times, and people always refer to me as the canary in the coal mine. When I
Mm.
leave, they're all going, "What? Why are you leaving? This is a great place." I'm like, I think I've tried to explain this to the
Yeah.
office, but I'm not getting anywhere, and you guys are headed down a path of destruction, and it's always been true. And so, how do you make that decision? You have to you have to have a certain level of risk tolerance. You have to be
Mm.
able to say, um, this is not going to end well, and so I need to figure out something for myself, something for me that will have a better opportunity for success.
Mm.
And you can't always figure that out in an interview. So sometimes
Right.
I've left a place, ended up at another place that I thought was going to be good, only to figure out, okay, these people don't know what they're doing either. I'll try to tell them, but if they don't catch on, then
Uh-huh.
then I'm going to have to look again. And
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, I think it's a matter of doing what you need to do to protect yourself. But I recognize that I have a real good cushion. I
Mm.
have a husband who was always fully employed as a faculty member at the University of
Right.
Texas. And if I didn't have an income, it wasn't the end of the world.
Right.
I should get an income, but you know, I could go without for a while. So I had a
Right.
cushion, and not everybody has that. And so I
Yeah.
recognized that I was really fortunate, and that allowed me to take risks that not everybody can take.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
so um, when you decide that an organization is toxic or not good for your mental health or not going anywhere or whatever, and you decide you really should get another job, you have to assess your level of risk. Can you risk quitting that job and going out and finding another one? And one way around that is to find the other one before you quit. So that
Mm.
diminishes the
Yes.
risk. You've already got another
Yes.
job lined up, and you're
Right.
not going to be unemployed for more than a week or
Right.
whatever. But you have to
That
assess the
definitely helps with your
risk.
confidence too.
Oh
Because
yeah,
you have another job lined up. Yeah.
you're the one with all the cards when you
Right.
have another job or maybe three lined up. And I used my friend Bob is so funny, and he said, "Well, I always keep a couple jobs in my back pocket in case I need them."
That's funny. I learned that I was probably 26 years old, and it was my roommate. I remember I was at my job and I was just right there, and I was happy with my job. And I had a contract with the state of Colorado. And for some reason, it didn't work out. Like the contract didn't go through. They hired me, and then they were like, oh, the paperwork, because I had been an intern, there wasn't enough time in between hiring me as a contractor. And so I lost my job 2 days before Thanksgiving, before the holiday, just like that, with
Mm,
no notice. And I was 26, and my roommate said, "You have to be ready to leave a job just as easily as they can leave you." And I was like, "What?" Because she was off on her way to an interview, and I was like, "But you have a job." She goes, "Oh no, I'm always interviewing. I'm always looking for something. I'm always open to other opportunities." And it also is good to interview because it keeps me fresh for interviewing.
mhm,
And I was like, "Wow, that's such an interesting concept," because I had never, I came from, like, you put your head down, you work hard, you do whatever your boss tells you, and you just go. And it was a completely different thing. Like you're not loyal to the company. Like you don't. Yeah, I come from Michigan where we make cars and like mine, and we're very loyal to the company. And it was different. It was really different. But ever since then, it really made me feel more confident, though. That was the thing. Looking at it more like I am an asset and I have other opportunities. I could take my talents and skills somewhere else. It made me feel more confident knowing that I had in my back pocket one or
Right.
two companies that I could always explore if something went wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think having that
Interesting.
confidence gives you the upper hand in any kind of negotiation. Uh, Maybe you will stay, maybe
Yeah.
you won't, but
Yeah.
it's it if you know what your alternatives are, that
Right.
is so much better than if you don't have any alternatives at present and you don't know what they might be. That gives you a sense of insecurity and fear.
Totally. Totally.
It's better to have that back pocket uh, knowledge of what you do well and who would
Yeah.
want to hire you and know that you can make a difference for a company. And so you're you're feeling strong. That's why I tell people to
Yeah.
write down 3 things that they're proud of. That makes them feel strong. They know they've got
Right.
something. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, that's all good. That's all good information. Is there anything else we should share about job transitions today? About when you're deciding to leave or the types of things. A big thing too is while you're looking for jobs, if you are um, looking and you're in limbo, is self-care. And so
Oh,
while you're
right,
looking
right.
for jobs, sometimes what happens is people will just go, go, go. Looking for a job is a full-time job in itself.
Yeah.
It's emotionally draining. Um, I've seen a lot of people. Of course, I coach and mentor a lot of high performers, and so what happens is people get really, they kick it into overdrive because they need a job. Um, Even a lot of my students, they'll start like 2 years before they graduate, aggressively looking for a job. And it's important to have self-care and it's important to balance it out. And people don't understand that even the mental strain will really take a toll on your energy levels and how you interview and how you perform. So it's important not to just apply for 50, 60 hours a week and interview, 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 interview. It's important to manage your time so that you're getting enough rest, so that you're taking breaks to eat, so that you're going out for walks and doing other things. It can be really, really consuming. I understand when
Mm-hmm.
you're searching for a job, but you actually hurt yourself if you show up to your interviews like completely just dialed up to 11 because you've been researching and you're working so hard at trying to work so hard. Yeah.
It's like cramming for a test, staying up all night
Right.
before the test, and you get there and your brain is exhausted
Yeah.
and you're all caffeinated and ready to go, but you can't think straight. So
Right.
get some
And you don't
sleep.
even retain a lot of that information either.
Yeah.
So it's important to remember that self-care part. And self-care is not just a bubble bath. Self-care is doing exactly what you need to perform your best. So if self-care means going for walks or eating healthy or working out or going to bed at 8 o'clock or 8:30, that's what self-care is. Self-care is not just, oh, I took a bubble bath, so I'm good now. That's not what it is. You need to see a therapist to help with your brain. That's also self-care.
I was working for a company once that I could see was clearly headed down the tubes, and I knew
Mm,
why.
mm,
I could explain it, and I tried to explain it, but the people who were running the company were very young and they didn't understand it. They didn't want to understand it.
uh,
But my office was next to the administrative assistant to the president of that company, and the
uh-huh.
president hadn't shown up. This was not a work from home kind of period of time. The president had not shown up for about 2 weeks, and I could hear the admin saying, "Well, honey, we're in Texas. Just take a nice hot bubble bath and have a glass of wine, and you'll be fine." I'm thinking, time to bail.
Ooh, yeah, if the executive assistant is the therapist,
Yeah,
then the
right.
company's going down.
And the CEO or president hasn't shown up for 2 weeks because she can't face it. Uh,
Because a kid can face it. Oh, painful, painful.
Very
Well,
painful.
luckily I
So
haven't had any of those
that's when you
transitions.
say, pull up the pull up the reins and let's gallop on
That's
out of
it.
here.
We're out. We're out.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, it's always good talking to you. If
Good
anybody
talking to
wants
you.
to join us, we're doing this at Wednesday mornings. So you can come in, you can pop in, you can chat, and you can send us questions on LinkedIn live. And every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Central and 7 Pacific, we're here. But the second Friday of every month, we do our workshop, and it's just $27 and we do it online, and that's really fun. It's at noon Central and 10 Pacific, the second Friday of every month. And we do things like practice. We practice what to say, how to say it. If you're thinking about leaving a company, or if you're trying to stay and you're trying to make things better, what do you say? How do you role play? How do you speak to your supervisors about that?
How do
We
you
do all that stuff.
negotiate? How do you
How do you
negotiate
negotiate?
trade-offs? How do you negotiate the things you need to make your current workplace viable?
Yeah,
Lots of fun things that
yeah,
every person in tech encounters. So,
that's right. That's
yeah.
right. Excellent. So you can go to luckyandleslie.com if you want to join us the second Friday of every month. Sometimes we speak at conferences. We've spoken at a couple of different places. Sometimes we speak at organizations. So if you want us to come and do a talk or do a improv workshop, we can certainly do that as well. Otherwise,
Great.
I will see you next Wednesday.
See you then.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye.